Hello. So I'm here to talk to you today about the safety levels of working with microbes in the lab. In addition to our what we call the usual safety protocols for working in your environment, working with equipment, and all that other kinds of safety, we also have to address the our safety in terms of the microbes that are going to be using. All right. For this, we have three levels of safety. Um, According to the CDC, we've got several biosafety levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. To work with them at all means to be biosafety level 1. To work with microorganisms at all means level 1. We're going to go over 1, and we consider our labs to be a biosafety level 2 lab. So we're following biosafety level 2 protocols. Now, 2 is built on 1, and then 3 is built on 1 and 2. And 4 built on 3, 2, and 1, of course. Now, 4 is where you get to the point, you've probably seen it in movies and stuff. People are walking around in suits connected to tubes so they can get fresh air and stuff. 3, they're totally walled off. I actually used to work in a 3 facility, and it's a big difference between 2 and 3. But we're looking at 1 and 2, okay? So looking at 1, these are an environment where though organisms manipulated pose a low-level risk to community and unlikely to cause disease in healthy adults, some of them can still cause disease given the appropriate circumstances. This can be things like being immunocompromised or just conditions that could cause disease. This is the safest level, so it's really nothing you really have to. Well, I don't want to say you don't have to worry about it. It's something we always have to keep in our minds when we're working with microbes. But it's broken down into 6 categories: personal protection, laboratory physical space, stock culture, standard laboratory practices, training, documentation. Okay. So biosafety level 2, suitable for organisms that pose moderate individual risk and low community infection risk for infections. All right. So when we follow these techniques, we are greatly decreasing the chances of the opportunity for these organisms to cause disease. So just follow protocols and you'll be fine. So starting off with personal protection, again, I got BSL 1 and then 2 builds off of that. So in 1, we wear safety glasses, goggles when handling liquid cultures, performing procedures that create a splash hazard or spread plating. Again, we'll go over these when we get there, but the point really is that no matter what you're doing, if you are working in the lab, you're going to be wearing your lab coat all the time, your goggles all the time, and gloves all the time when you're working or working. Well, we won't be working next to anyone because of the social distancing, so you don't really have to worry about that. But when you're working with active cultures, you're going to have those 3 things on. All right. Washing up after you're done. Proper hand hygiene involves thorough hand cleansing prior to and immediately after finishing handling microorganisms and any time they may come in contact with the skin. Wash with soap and water and then an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. So again, as it says, BSL2, wear safety goggles or glasses for normal laboratory procedures. Use safety goggles, face shields when performing procedures that may create a splash hazard. It's essentially you just need to wear them all the time. Okay, and it might sound like it's a pain, but I've worked in labs quite a bit and environments where we have to wear PPE, and you get used to it. So it gets to the point where you don't feel right if you don't have it on. It feels like something's wrong. If you're in the lab and you're not wearing gloves and you're not wearing a lab coat and you're not wearing safety glasses or goggles. So get goggles because they keep things from going in at the sides too. Glasses just in front. But if work is performed in biological safety cabinet, goggles and face shields do not need to be worn. We're going to be doing everything out on the bench top. So, again, all the time when we're in the labs and we're in those zones where we are working with microorganisms, we're going to have on our long pants, okay, safety goggles, laboratory coat, and gloves. All right, we supplied the gloves to you. The rest of it you have to show up with. If you show up with shoes that are not closed-toed, with shorts on, we keep you're going to have to get them one way or another. You could, if you want, give some to me and we could keep them there at the lab or at the school. We can keep them there for you. But you have to come with that. If you don't, you cannot take part in the lab. And so you'll have to be able to get a 0 for the lab that day. So it's a safety thing. It's very, very important. Again, you can switch out. You can switch into them and then bring clothes afterward. But you have to have them on when you're doing your labs. And laboratory coats, already brought you a few information about that. Okay. Physical space requirements. Keep the storage area for personal belongings separate from the work area. Generally, we'll keep a place in the lab where you can put your things down. Everything that you want to keep from being contaminated, basically, you put those in there in that space, and you don't go into that, and you don't go get anything out of that space unless you've taken off your PPE and washed your hands thoroughly. Okay, so we have to stay in line with that. Stock culture requirements. These are the ones that we're going to be using. PSL 1, subculture, known microbes isolated, environment required practices and facilities. PSL 2